4. City and Architecture. The city and its negation, an outline of negative political theory. The following remarks need a decisive approach for 3 reasons. First, because closer inspection reveals the topic to be a vast subject with content much too big for a lecture. We can only tackle it under the Epicurean motto that a long and a short speech amount to the same thing. Second, we shall have to show that the negative for the theory of the city that I want to develop here is not a supplement from a late or decadent or overcomplicated age, but a condition of the Western urban spirit from the very beginning. It follows that negative political theory, a negation of political theory, should begin just as classically as political theory itself. Third, because the present zeitgeist is against the idea we are proposing here, that European urban cultures were founded on the game of negations of the city by typical city dwellers, for the zeitgeist is plagued by political correctness. I will not hear anything about the city except ideas modelled on clichés of positive urbanity, and insofar as what I say here cannot be quote-unquote correct in a cosmopolitan sense, a sense of urban citizenship, at least not on first reading, the following remarks will try the audience's willingness to allow space for lack of correctness, or we could say multi-dimensionality. I will defend the thesis that the paradigmatic European city is not the sum of its positive citizens, but the sum of those who are sustaining the city and those who are escaping from it. The city that gives us something to think about as an object of nostalgia and as a chance in the present has always been more than merely the totality of its active inhabitants. Cities become interesting through the people who are in the city as though they were somewhere else. It is not simply the assembly of inhabitants that characterises what fascinates Europeans about their most important cities, but the dual assembly of citizens and deserters. Only cities have what we can call inhabitants in the highest sense, citizens whose existence is deeply bound to their city. But the only places that ancient Europe would have accepted as worthy to be called cities are those where, alongside the inhabitants, people who live differently are clearly noticeable. Fans of dialectical formulas could put it like this: the classical city is the assembly of the assembled and the non-assembled. To back up these statements, I shall invite influential witnesses on the cause of the city to speak in 10 short hearings. First, we shall hear a few words about the founding of the ancient European polis, from the spirit of metaphysical negation, resignation. Second, we shall analyse contempt and weariness in terms of negative social or urban bonds. Third, we shall talk about the rupture between the urban spirit and truth as it occurred in the venerable institutions of Athenian philosophy. And fourth, we shall follow up with some remarks on kineticism and cosmopolitanism. While in fifth place, we shall discuss how disappointed citizens of the ancient city discovered misanthropy among their fellow citizens. The sixth and seventh points of our tour of the various impulses for negation of the city offer some brief comments on ancient institutions like the anchorites and the mystery cult. Our eighth argument relates to idyls and the pastoral. The ninth examines the political betrayal of the city by its most illustrious citizens. And the last point, almost logically, concerns urban aestheticism. Since the days of Baudelaire, all urban addicts have praised the act of mingling with the crowd that the poet extolled as a holy prostitution of the soul. This will bring our negative political theory to its factual conclusion. The analysis will show that, in reality, the emotion which seems to be most sympathetic to the city, the heady feeling of the metropolis and the excited collective buzz in the symphony of the big city, sealed the downfall of the early trading city in a mystical practice of irresponsibility. At the peak of urban joys, in the orgy of impressions, in the aesthetic affirmation of circulation, the political city dissolved forever into the aesthetic phenomenon. as this course has to move fast, we will only be able to sketch the outlines of a negative political theory.